Hello, welcome to Attacking Third, your favorite women's soccer show. I'm Sandra Herrera alongside Christine Cupo and Lori Lindsey coming out of the Seattle Reign versus North Carolina match, but that's not all we're going to be chatting about tonight. No. We're here to recap NWSL Week 2022. We're going to hit you with our biggest takeaways. We're going to chat about, of course, Reign versus Courage, but we got to talk about the fact that Orlando got a win, that Gotham is doing some pretty nice stuff right now at the right time in the build-up to the postseason. And, of course, everyone's favorite segment is back. Our weekly best 11 at the end of every match weekend. We select a team of the week, a coach of the week, and an honorary captain. And of course, if you're fresh off of that game, you might be looking for an interview, and we're going to have that for you too. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for that interview to get set up, we just want to thank everybody for tuning in to A3, joining us live on YouTube, or if you're watching us on Golazo Network, thank you for being here. Christine, Lori, thank you too for being here. Appreciate y'all. Christine, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just trying to figure out why I can't talk to the chat and it's stressing me out. I'm like, why is it shutting me down? I'm like,
I hate
hello,
that.
good evening. Hello,
You're
my fellow sickos.
you're for the people. I can't.
I
I'm like,
am. It's gonna be a sore spot. I
let
mean,
them
love
let
y'all
them
chat.
host. Yeah, amongst the people. How you doing, Lori?
Yeah, what is going on? I'm good. Good to see you too. Happy to be on the show with you both. And well, I'm laughing at my predictions from Thursday, and also I'm laughing at the wildness of this league that continues to be. So it's amazing.
A moment of reflection. It likes to humble us because as very smart people, you sometimes come off and really think things through rationally and logically, and then they pull up and just laugh in our faces. They're like, "Oh, you thought?" Haha.
Oh my goodness. Rationality, logic. What's that? Because I couldn't help but think to our last episode, Lori, you were on there with me and Darren, and we did a little bit of previewing ahead of this week's games. And I'm just kind of like thinking a little bit. I'm like, we had some feelings about Orlando, and we're going to get a chance to talk about how incorrect we were in some of those predictions there. Even tonight's game, honestly, we were like, what's up? I'm definitely going to have some things to say about the fact that I didn't get that 3-3 job. But we're gonna hop right into it. Let's start with the game that's most freshest. We'll talk more about the Seattle side of things, but for now, the Courage were going into this game as one of those kind of trending teams, and didn't really feel like this was a game that was like a must win for them. But at this point, we're firmly in the camp of every single point matters moving forward, especially if you are in the lower end of that playoff push. They unfortunately don't get the win tonight, so it kind of keeps them a little bit on the outside looking in. What did you see from them tonight, Lori, from the Courage that, maybe folks should still sort of keep the faith with this team a little bit? Are they still going to have enough in them in the games in front of them and the performances that they're putting together to make a run and maybe still leapfrog into that final eight?
Yeah, well, hopefully Manaka is okay, right? And then the hope is too, you get Brown and Pinto back sooner than later with her ability that she's shown in front of the goal. So yes, I very much think so. And despite this loss, one of the things that we were talking about coming into the preview is the teams that were traveling. Portland in particular going to Gotham, North Carolina going to Seattle, and how difficult that can be, particularly, well, one, full stop in this league, but two, this time of year, it can be so challenging. And for North Carolina, that hasn't been their strong suit. Not last year, not this year, but the hope was for them that they were going to get some sort of result in this game, knowing that then, I was just looking at the schedule too, that they have a home game next week. The next 2 games or 3 out of the 4 are all home. So just to snag some sort of result, even a point tonight would have been huge for them, given also how good they've been at home. So there is still a lot of hope. I have a huge game next weekend versus Louisville, who has now slipped into that 8th spot just above the playoff line. So I know that we're always like, these are must win games. Well, listen, I think every game at this point in time is must win, just given, listen, this week we were talking about Orlando. If they don't win this game, it's doom and gloom. Well, now they're up in like 5th place. So it's just like,
Crazy. They're giving me whiplash. Like we already had like a conversation 2 weeks ago that was like, is Orlando out of it? And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, we're up here. Why
Yeah.
were you looking for us down there?
Exactly.
It's giving me whiplash. I think right now, coming out of this game, knowing what North Carolina face in Louisville, who are now hitting some personal club highs historically coming into this game, which gives them a lot more motivation, snapping a losing streak. And I'm a little worried about Manaka having come off limping just because she's such an important part of that team. Just ball progression, creative spark, counter pressing. She's kind of a do-all wonder. And I think they're an entirely different squad without her. So I'm a little worried for the Courage for next week.
TBD for sure. She's quickly become like both like the catalyst and like the end result, the end product for that. So it you know, hopefully it's nothing too serious, but if you're in the middle of a playoff push with time absolutely of the essence, we're talking 4 grains of sand left in that time machine. So it's like you don't want to lose her for any of that. So I guess TBD on that. So it ain't over till it's over, but we definitely gotta keep our eyes peeled for North Carolina and what comes next for them. Speaking of games on the road, you guys have alluded to it a little bit. Maybe we'll pivot to this game immediately. Orlando Pride getting a win, a massive win. Lori, we were talking with Darian Jenkins about this, that amongst the games for week 22, we felt that this was the game that felt like the must-win game for the 2 teams involved. And granted, all you said it best, like all of them are going to feel that way for many teams with just the 4 games remaining. But for the Pride going into this one, knowing the week that they have in front of them, that was the scene setter for us to talk about it in the preview. And it was just like, they need to get a win. They've been winless in 9 games at this point. You have San Diego on the other side as the host in this one. They absolutely want to have it marked on their calendar because they have hit a little bit of a scoring skid in some ways for themselves. It felt like high stakes for both teams. And it's Orlando that's walking away with the win. So we built it up. So does it feel like as big, like this sort of trajectory type of win for them?
Yeah, huge. I think this is huge. And that was the one thing that I said, that you have to get this because they'll go midweek now for CONCACAF Champions Cup. And then Friday night, which is a quick turnaround. The schedule's not doing them any favors, and they play at Houston. So that is to be away at San Diego, given that they're in the same kind of situation as Orlando going into that game, to get all 3 points. Now, I was even thinking like a tie would be okay at this point in time, but to get all 3 points, I think it's not even like the thing that I think needs to be said too. I think this Orlando team in a lot of ways has still been playing good soccer. They're creating chances. It's just from an emotional standpoint, and I've been there as a player, it is so difficult when you do not get any sort of thing, little goals, deflections, anything that go your way. It is so challenging to come out of that with to try to regain belief. And that's the biggest thing, because if something goes your way in a game, typically if things are like full on momentum, like we saw last season for Orlando, then automatically things just start falling your way. You don't even think anything of it. You're like, hell yeah, we're riding high, right? But when it's the opposite way, it's like, okay, is this ever going to turn around? So you could see Carson Pickett's reaction, the celebration, like what that meant after she scored that game winner. Massive. And I think it just gives them enough of a cushion to be like, okay, even if things will go away in Houston, you're still like, we can regroup a little bit more than we have, because otherwise the pressure just starts mounting and mounting. And then it's like, it feels like there's no turning back at that point in time, mentally and emotionally.
Jackie Ovia goal, which I personally celebrated very loudly. I think one thing that I love that's a little bit bittersweet is she seems to really be starting to get this like great chemistry with, of all people, Ali Watt, who we know will not be there in the long term. And I'm like punching air because I'm like, no, like we know how talented she is. And I feel like we saw her spark last season, that tail end. She was just absolutely on fire straight into the final. And I'm like, damn it. I'm like, Ellie, you sure you want to go to Denver? No, I mean, it'll be exciting there, but I like that connection that they're making. And I'm sure there'll be others, but right now I'm just being a little selfish.
No, I feel that 100%. I think in previewing it, it kind of felt similarly. It's like, okay, it's, something that's part of it was part of the struggle storyline going into this game. It's like, okay, we're seeing these little glimpses between like Ovaya and Wa, and it's like you better enjoy the glimpses while you get them, because it's not going to be something that exists for Orlando next year. And also kind of I refer to them as like this team that's just like living and dying within and by the margins, and like how much that can add to the frustrations of a team that we know is good. I mean, they won the Shield and the championship last year. And so this concept of just sort of navigating these games, and you're just like, we keep chipping away and chugging along. Like, surely those scales are going to tip in our favor, but they just haven't.
I feel like another team in that same conversation with some of the same woes is Angel City, where it's like, you see them, the movement's really nice, the on the ball, off the ball, you're like, this is pretty, this should work. And the final balls don't come. And you're like, how is this statistically possible? It's like very frustrating, because when you start to look at just running like matches back, it's like you can't pinpoint anything that was particularly poor to be like, hey, that's the problem. You just kind of do this thing as an analyst and go, damn, man, yeah, like I think should be fallen.
I think that's part of why this game does feel that way. It wasn't so much it's like, well, we have the info in front of us and we're just like, God, Orlando hasn't got to win forever. And so like not getting a win in forever just automatically feels like the first win finally feels like a big win. Like, no, it feels like a big win because of all of those things. And like a little bit to your point, like 'tis the season, right? Like the fact that we can name a couple of other teams who are maybe sort of feeling the similar vibes and giving off some of the similar energy a little bit. So I mean, I don't think there's any disagreement of how massive of a 3 points this is for a team like Orlando down the stretch, where we saw them over the last couple of weeks kind of just, they were that team that was kind of trending the playoff line, and now they're a little bit more, I don't want to say they're comfortable, but they're a little higher up in the middle of the pack of that 8. And the other side of that is San Diego Wave. That's like also just kind of continuing a little bit of their slow and steady stumble.
Defensive lapses, midfield lapses, 1 win in the last 5, like seem to have lost all of that sort of like pizzazz that they had early on.
What I was gonna say.
Really? Oh my God. Okay, well, it's been a while, Lori. I've missed you. They did though, and I think it was kind of really surprising for me the way that they came in under Jonas and looked remarkably sound, as if, especially having fielded so many rookies, and not just rookies, like very young baby rookies. And it seemed like everything was coming together. And I started to kind of capitulate myself, because I said, all right, well, it would make sense at this part of the season to have a team like that is so green, to kind of sort of pull apart at the seams a little bit, because this is the most tumultuous part of an NWSL season. It's very hard to maintain those sort of very clinical performances match over match. And yes, we're seeing Kansas City do it, but Kansas City's doing it with great reason. They have the tools at their disposal. They have the depth. They have just remarkable amounts of talent and a lot of experience that's balancing some of the youth. So when you take a team that's very, baby heavy, we'll call it, in San Diego Wave, yeah, they're talented. But I mean, is that it for them? Is that the big hump to cross over at this point? Because we know they're capable. So like, what is it just are they getting the yips, these weird playoff yips now?
Yeah, I think it is experience. I think that's a huge thing that can't be overstated, because the length of the season, we've already mentioned the travel, everything. There's just, once the pressure starts, I mean, there's aspects of the players on San Diego are playing, and rightfully so, because they're so talented and can step onto the field now. But there's aspects of growing pains as a professional that you go through. And to your point about Kansas City, you have a coach has been in high pressurized situations. You have loads of players that have gone through the rigors of many different types of seasons. Lola Blanta in particular, their main
NWSL 1.0, 2.0.
Yep. Players that have gone the entire way and then lost. So they've felt the defeat. And so there's aspects at the beginning of the season, you don't know what you don't know. And that plays into your favor, and you play free. And there's so many things that just kind of fall your way. And then when the pressure sets in, or maybe something doesn't go your way, it's how are you able to pull yourself out of that? And I feel like those are kind of like the trials that San Diego are going through right now is, okay, how do you add more deception in the attack? That's not as predictable. Who's digging you out in those moments when you're looking around and it's like this is their first experience being in these situations. So there's a lot of that I think it's the growing pains that you're going to have to go through, and then you're going to come out better for it, right? Regardless of how this season ends for San Diego, and maybe they'll be able to turn it around.
Hopefully it's one of those, well, for Orlando, obviously it's the win for Orlando that's going to change their trajectory, but even a loss like this can maybe shake things up for San Diego, because they had a lot of great offensive stats to close out the game. So different endings for both of them could also mean that they still both end up in the playoffs in different ways. But big win for one team. Also, maybe another big win for another team in Seattle. We started this show talking a little bit about North Carolina, but Seattle got the dub. This also feels like a little bit of a huge win for them. And we got to break down how that's a huge 3 points for the Reign, but we're not going to do that alone. We have to have someone from the Reign talk to us a little bit about what this win means tonight. So we're going to be joined by Jordyn Huitema.
Hey, bring her out.
Bring her up. Jordyn.
Hey.
There she goes.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going?
Welcome to Second Third. Thank you for giving us some of your time after a massive Seattle Reign win. We were just talking about how some of these wins for teams at this phase of the season kind of just feel like those big wins. We hear a lot about this time of the calendar where it almost kind of turns into a little bit of like a mini playoff before the actual playoffs. For going up against the Courage, a team that's also in the hunt. What was it like, just sort of kind of the atmosphere going toe to toe with a team that also is playing with equally high stakes?
Yeah, I mean, this year is so tight. It feels like there's like 6-7 teams on the bubble, which is crazy. So I think like this year it's really going to go down to the final few games and who's pulling out results and who isn't. And yeah, I mean, it's high pressure. Every single game you have to pull out results. Otherwise you're moving I think it's like something crazy. Like we lose the game, we're in 8th, we win the game, we're in 4th. It's just like the table's moving and shifting so much. So it just makes for crazy high stakes. It makes for, are you in the playoffs? Are you maybe even hosting a home game, which is huge, crazy differences. So yeah, every single game is super intense. And it's fun. I mean, it definitely adds excitement. The crowd was amazing tonight. We definitely needed them. And for us, I mean, it was huge 3 points for us. I mean, it's game changing. It's pivoting for the season, these games for us. And I think that we are hard on ourselves, and obviously like we weren't ourselves for the full 90. And I think we have to find consistency in that in order to be ready for playoffs and to show up consistently throughout a 90-minute match and not just be a second half team. But obviously so proud of everyone who played and performed and supported the team tonight to get the 3 points, because it was massive and we really needed it.
Head coach Laura Harvey, we saw her celebrating too. Kind of live for that. The enthusiasm there, you just got to get behind it. Has any of the messaging coming from her as the sort of pressure has mounted changed? What has been the mindset? What has been the mission statement sort of for the Seattle Reign? She knows her way around a playoff.
For sure. I mean, her experiences, it shows a lot. And I think that it hasn't really changed. I think our team from start to end has been holding really high standards for ourselves. And I think you have to do that to be a competitive team. You can't just get to the second half of season or the playoff push and just be like, okay, now we're going to turn it up. Now we're going to turn it on. I think it starts from the beginning, and we've constantly been evolving as a team and changing and growing. And I think you get to these ends of seasons and you want the growing pains to kind of be gone, but we're ever evolving. And I think like we're ever changing in what we're doing, in the dynamics we're holding, in our press, in our offensive shape. Like we're adding so much to our game that every game there's going to be sticky moments, and there's going to be moments that we're going to need to grow and change on. And that's what makes us so difficult to play against. Like, you really don't know who's going to start, who's going to come in, what shape we're going to play in. It's a really difficult team to play against. Our depth is incredible. Our understanding of tactics is so good, especially for such a young team. We can shift. I think we did 3 different formations today defensively. On the turn of a knob, like, we're able to do it so quickly, and it really changes the game for us. And I mean, that's everything you need going into playoffs. You need to have all those things in your Swiss Army knife and be able to go out and do whatever the game calls for. And I think that's the advantage we're starting to grow. And while that leads to growing pains sometimes, I think that in the end, we're going to be able to kind of figure it out, smooth it out, and be ready for playoffs. And it's showing now in the playoff push.
Yeah, no, I love that you said that. And that leads into my question, just kind of like, how would you describe this team outside of some of the things that you just said? Because, you know, covering your team this season, that is one thing that your coach, Laura Harvey, has mentioned. It's like, this is the deepest team that you've had. You've had to shift to after some inconsistent results, right? Some different formations and stuff, getting Huerta back, different personnel, the official coming in. So you have the luxury of being able to shift. But like, going from the beginning of the season to now, how would you describe your team the most? Like, what does that look like heading into the playoffs?
I mean, yeah, it's all the things you just said. I think it's really rare what we have. The ability for closers to come into a game and actually up the intensity and up the skill that's on the field is rare. And it's definitely a team that it's the first team I've been involved with the Reign, especially, who has this much depth, especially in the front line. Like, it's incredible, the players that we have on the bench, the players that aren't even making squad, the players that are out for injury right now. Like, the amount of players we have is incredible. And I think that's what continues to push us. And the fluidity within those players as well. I mean, like with Soph, you have her playing wing back, you have her playing center back, you have her playing wherever she needs to, and she does it at such a high level. And I think there's lots of players that are able and capable of doing those in different spaces. And I think it gives us that fluidity piece. And I think from the start of season to now, I think our offensive shape is the big difference. It was new for us at the beginning. We're still grabbing it. We're still learning how. I think at the beginning, teams were surprised with it. So they didn't really know how to adjust or solve us. And then now they've started to solve us and figure out how to deal with what we're giving them. And so we have to adapt again and find ways to find our own pockets if they know where we are going to be playing or moving within that again. So I think that's the growing pain now, is like, how do we become dangerous now that teams know how we're coming out offensively? And that's what we're learning, and teams are still struggling to solve it. So it's just about confidence. It's about continuing to believe in ourselves and have the belief to turn in pockets and drive forward, especially like our sixes, our center backs, taking space and turning behind lines. It's huge. It's game changing for us. And Sally and Sam today were great, especially in the second half when they started to receive and behind their front line and dribble and switch the point of attack. I think it's game changing for us.
I love that. Seattle Reign, where quick adjustments and unpredictability is the X factor. Jordyn Huitema, thank you for joining us tonight. We will keep tuning in to Seattle Reign, the 4th place Seattle Reign.
Hey,
how y'all navigate the rest of the season. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you guys.
Good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
You love to see it. You love to hear it. This is probably like next to Team of the Week. Like, this is usually my favorite part of our Sunday recaps. Like, getting a player on, letting us know how they're feeling. Honestly, whether it's coming off of like win or like strange wild draws, like they're coming in and letting us know fresh off that adrenaline. I loved that she mentioned the team's ability to make those adjustments pretty quickly, the depth of the squad, like that was key tonight. Like, we saw those substitutions that Laura Harvey made, and they were immediately impact type of subs for the game.
I think the other part of that is for her to finally have that depth at her disposal, knowing that Laura Harvey is one of, I'd say, world best tactical in-game managers, just making adjustments. She's so good at that finally we're seeing she's got like a broader palette, more paints that she can just fill in the blanks with. And so, yeah, to Jordyn's point, like having 3 different tactical adjustments just defensively in a singular match is wildly impressive. And I don't think people actually give her enough credit for that. And this team's being nimble.
Big wins for teams out of week 22. We've got some more to chat about. Stay tuned. We'll be with you right after a quick break. right, welcome back to Attacking Third. We're talking big wins out of week 2022. We're gonna keep that energy going because we were like chatting all things Orlando. We were like joined by Jordyn Huitema for Seattle and their win. Gotham FC getting a pretty big win of their own. This was another one of those games that we had highlighted over the course of week 22 because we had two teams essentially fighting for a little bit of dominance on the table. Like, who is the real number Trey right now? Like, who's it going to be? Like, who won? Turns out it's Gotham. And I think, Lori, like, we can maybe fill in Cupo a little bit. We were talking about like a lot of what came up was like travel, like in the course of this week. And we're kind of keeping an eye on some of the teams who might have heavier travel away and how they're going to manage these games, how they're going to look. What did you see from Portland? And could they have done more to squeak anything out of this one?
I mean, we saw a little bit of a formation change, but we also saw Gotham play the way that we know they can play. So
I'm like, Rose Lavelle?
Yeah.
Girl,
Rose
I think
Lavelle.
we actually saw like peak like COVID bubble Rose. Like maybe a quick sync. Like it was wild. My jaw was legitimately on the floor.
I agree.
I was like, oh damn, because quite frankly, again, probably, I mean, clearly a wrong prediction. I thought the Thorns were to come in and be a little bit more threatening because they have been, yes, a little bit up and down, but more in form than I think we've seen them. I do like Rob Gale's vision, and I get what he's trying to do. I know he hates travel, so like I'm just kind of chuckling that you're like, oh, travel. I'm like, oh yes. How you doing, Rob? But yeah, I think that this was Gotham literally just firing warning shots. Like, hey, we know who we are. We are resilient as hell. We've shown it season over season. And just because we take these little dips here and there, pay them no mind. We are still terrifying. And I feel like that's the Gotham we've got back. They are sharp in attack. They are defensively locked in again. They look more comprehensive than we've seen probably over the last like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, I think that is like really great points in the sense that too, last week we got on this show right after their game at Bay. And one of the talking points too was like, just didn't feel like they got the win, but it didn't was that a win or a tie? I don't even know. There feels like there's a million games since then. Regardless. Oh no, Kundananji tied the game. So, but it didn't feel like Gotham was like firing on all cylinders like you would expect. And again, that time it was the travel across country for them, right? And you can get disjointed, but still Rose got a goal in that game. Regardless, now it's like, even if they do have those little blips, you're just seeing the connections of Jaden Shaw, to your point, Rose Lavelle, but also huge props, in my opinion, to Midge Purse, because let's not forget 2 years ago, Midge was the MVP of the championship game. And if she's on and she's playing consistent minutes, this team, in my opinion, looks so different because of just the way that she plays. She can stay wide. They can almost like lopside the way that they play. She can stay wide. She can go 1v1. She can cut in when she wants to. But then they can play Jaden as like the starting position out wide on the left, but has the ability to tuck in. So they just have the ability now to create different types of overloads. People are back healthy, playing more minutes. But I think Midge is a huge aspect of that. And joins in and gives them some dynamism in the way that she's just going to take players on and get next to Stair in a lot of ways. And that opens up room for Shaw and Rose underneath. So it's, I think Washington, I'm probably going to get into this, but Washington and Gotham, I feel like they're two right now that could challenge Kansas City.
They're rising. They're rising.
Yep. Sure. Actually, I really do agree. Yep.
I'm looking at shout out to our producer Manya because he's bringing up the predictions from our last one. And apparently I said 1-0 Thorns. Like, was I delirious? It was too much.
I don't even remember saying 2-0 Gotham.
I know. I was like, what's going on?
I
was too high on the razzle dazzle, Lori. Like clearly I didn't know what I was like talking about. It's also just, I hate to be this way, but it was just dominating. It was like just a dominating performance. And it was like, you wanted to get the stick out and be like, do something. And it's like, yeah, sure. Maybe it's like we talked about the travel coming into play and what that means for teams and maybe even what that means for coaches, how they're going to ask their team to operate. Is this the game that you look at on the calendar and you're like, this might be a little bit out of our reach, which I also question because I'm like, well, then what are you playing here for? Or what are you coaching here for? Because and you look at some of the end game stats of this. I mean, it is just like out of the water. It's like dominating stat lines everywhere for Gotham, and Portland has nothing, nada. Like it's like I think they had like 2 shots on target. It just like the way they were just like it was almost like rope-a-dope. It was like pulling them into they were falling into their their pressing triggers, and it was just like this just. They weren't giving anything else. Like couldn't see Sam Coffey really involved in the game or on the ball too much. And so I just kind of like, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Correction. It's 1-0 Gotham. That was my prediction.
Like you're not going to catch me slipping. I need to amend that asterisk.
I was delirious on the razzle dazzle, and look, Roosevelt bringing it all the time. She might be the real razzle dazzle for sure. It speaks to some of the depth, though, right? Like Jordyn Huitema was on here talking about that. It's like we're gonna get into the Spirit right now, but that's what it's also gonna be like these rosters that are finally kind of bulked themselves up a little bit at the exact right time. So 3 goals for Gotham, a shutout, like 3 big points for them to say, no, we are one of the big 3 moving forward. Like you're not going to take this.
They also like limited the Thorns to 4 shots. Like they just suffocated them.
It's like it was not a good game for the Thorns. It's one they want to like probably forget about, quite frankly.
Yeah, get right back home to that record that you have at home. Get out of there.
I don't think it's like no one wants to get exposed right now either, right? Like going into the playoffs, like you don't want to look like that team that has a poor showing against another playoff team, but that's what happened out of week 22 for Thorns. And
are we gonna talk about the gift who keeps on giving?
And speaking of making other teams look like they're not ready for that, the next phase of this season, Washinghon Spirit. Oh my goodness, we're talking a 4-0 whooping on Houston. Dash. You hate to see it because Dash was one of these teams coming out of the summer break that kind of aligned themselves with the Utahs and the Chicagos, who have become these sort of like really tough teams to go up against, snatching points off of elite clubs, snatching points off of other teams who are in the hunt and kind of bullying their way into the hunt themselves. But we saw 2 completely different types of teams, right? Against the Spirit taking on Houston. The gift that keeps on giving, Cupo.
Love it.
What a showing.
I mean, the fact that that even happened is insane to me. I'm like, oh, cool. We're just getting, I was saying this before, like we only get braces or hat tricks at this point in the season. Like you're not allowed to score a goal unless you're committing to 2 or 3. Like you're signing up for like Pilates class. You're like, no. It's 3 or 5. Like pick one. But Gift Monday pulling up 18, 21, and 36th minute. Just breaking records. She's just so talented, and that's adding to the attacking threat that already exists for Washinghon Spirit. Like their depth. It's not even talking about my favorite person, Cantore's backheel goal, which I mean, 3rd goal. Like, come on, you gotta love her. Are we gonna love
backheel?
I mean, and
it's pizzazz. She's got pizzazz.
And Trinity Rodman, like just lofting these up, like that's you have to love that if you're Trinity.
Like again, another healthy, like full steam ahead squad that will hurt you from every possible line and position. And like we are obviously like the beneficiaries of all of that, but it's really going to get spicier. Like just as the season comes to a close, like I feel like Washinghon Spirit and their fans at this point had thought like they were the lock. Like that's going to be the final again. We're going to be coming up against Kansas City is like ideally the way that things are mapping out. And I don't know, man. Gotham are tossing their hat in the ring. There's still a few weeks to go. Like it's all systems ahead.
I'll tell you what, though, you said it, Sandra, was Trinity Rodman. Those 2 balls that she played, next level. And we obviously know that about Trinity Rodman, and we've seen this at every single level. But I feel like, I mean, this is the difference of that team, is that like if Monday's not starting, then somebody's stepping up. Trinity Rodman's playing 2 dime balls right into her path that she's able to take in full stride. And it's just exceptional. It's like fire. And they've solidified themselves defensively too, in a much better way than they were before that international break. And that now I feel like is playing dividends in the attack. And because it's just there's better connections, there's more belief that they're going to not find themselves chasing some of these games in terms of like, oh, we've conceded unnecessarily or what, right? So yeah, just freaking fun to watch. And those 3 goals, dynamite.
We both had Spirit taking the dub in this one. 2-1 score lines. We had the team right. We were way off on the score line, but I'll take it. I love a big high scoring game like that. You don't love it if you're maybe a fan or a supporter of the losing side of that, but I think for Houston, this felt like one of those games as well. It's like we really have enjoyed seeing them kind of hit this stride out of the summer break. But now we're getting into that final third of the season where it is kind of like pretenders, versus contenders energy. It's like, show me who you are and what you got. Otherwise, stay home. And I think like sometimes like you have those games like this where you get your ass kicked and you're just like, okay, well, what's going to come next? So I'm very curious of what that bounce back looks like for Houston. And if it leads to anything, will this be the type of loss where they continue to show that it's not going to maybe be that defining kind of loss where it's like, well, okay, it's like going to be too hard, whatever. They're like just sitting still, like 3 points off that playoff line, and
huge game and quick turnaround because they're meeting Orlando on Friday, so back at home.
It's not going to get any easier. Is what I was going to say. I was like, it's not going to get any easier from here on out with just 4 weeks amazing and the opponents that are in front of them. But they're not. It ain't over just yet. The 3 points off that playoff line. Who they're 3 points behind Cupo. They're 3 points behind Racing Louisville, who also got themselves a real big win. And you were there. Tell us a little bit from Louisville.
It was pretty good. I mean, also it was pups at the pitch night. So I was like, I don't know what I did karmically to actually earn this, but I was absolutely all up petting everybody's pups and getting
all good dogs. Yep.
They were all the best, good boys and good girls. But I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I am Louisville's luck. But I had come into that kind of
back there ASAP.
A feeling like I think they're going to win this today. And yes, of course, we try to make predictions, and I thought it would be a little bit of a like 2-1 is what I envisioned happening. And of course, like Angel City want to possess, and they did, and they looked really good. They kept just attacking Sonus on that like weak side, and then you saw them sort of switch their point of attack really efficiently. And Louisville were absorbing the pressure and also just maintaining their defensive compactness, which was pretty remarkable given every which way that they were trying to just hunt and break those lines. Angel City looked good. Again, to my earlier point, it's just once it doesn't take the possession to make the game. Like Louisville were more than comfortable with dealing with letting them have the ball, keeping them in the less dangerous spaces and shutting them down, and just working to try to hit that transition. The problem with Louisville from like where I sit is they just don't have that sticky stuff. Like they'll go to transition and like they'll just get picked right away. So they end up getting dispossessed too early on and they don't really get to build back out. But sure enough, like they got that goal. I thought that when that dicey, maybe foul, maybe not foul, got peeled back, that would have been my second goal, best guess. And I was like, ooh, my scoreline prediction could come true because of course you like being right a little bit. But Louisville really played a really efficient, effective game. And then, of course, Bev had started Sarah Weber up top in that center forward role, which, if it weren't for Fisher's like recent absences due to just
they were one of those teams hitting a little bit of that skid and entering that danger zone a bit. They really were. And sometimes when that happens, you got to try stuff. Like you got to get into like try something mode. So I love
that. You remember, Sandra, in May when they played, this was a really physical, full out, like match. And so I was expecting that again. It wasn't exactly like a 8 yellow card match like it could have been. It was a 5. Tons of fouls, lots of physicality, lots of bodies hitting the floor. It was going to be like my Nuck If You Buck nominee match for the week for sure. But I think the record for fouls still is against Louisville, against the Thorns,
Portland.
maybe.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
had them a couple weeks ago and we were talking about that. Yeah.
And like, you know what? And I had the opportunity to talk to both Emma Sears and Taylor Flint, and then again Sarah Weber post match, and they all were kind of like, yeah, I think that's kind of just like part of our identity now. Like we're embracing it. And I'm like, you know what? I like it just because I like physicality, but sometimes I wonder like how much is that peeling back your ability to execute tactically if you're too busy worrying about like, hey, like throw a body, dig an elbow, like full on, I don't know, like body slam somebody. But Louisville were remarkable. And of course, like rookie Sarah Weber pulls up and manages to get that ball off of Emma Sears, bang, game winner. The fact that we've had so many rookie moments this season, all in for the league, to have another rookie, her second goal, also a game winner, also at home. So I'm like, man, like maybe I am a yellow butterfly landed on my head while I was standing there. And I was like, oh, I've been anointed by Louisville. Maybe I am the lucky charm. And sure enough, they locked it up. So I was really impressed by what Louisville were managed to do, the motivation that they pulled out of it. I know that they went into it with the mentality of like, do it for DeMello. And of course, like the fact that they managed to do that, I think showed like just an alignment mentally, physically, and tactically that they locked in.
You know, they end a 3-game losing streak with a big 3 points, and right now they're at that playoff line. We'll see what comes next for Racing Louisville. Will they not make the playoffs? But we do know on the way there they're going to kick some ass, take some names for sure. All right, we've got everyone's favorite segment coming right up after a quick break. Don't go anywhere. to Attacking Third. You're back just in time for your favorite segment, Attacking Third's Team of the Week. That's right. After every match week this season and through its conclusion of the year, Attacking Third analysts will select a best 11, a Team of the Week, and we will do our best to select forwards, midfielders, and a backline and goalkeeper. And we also choose a head coach and an honorary captain for that week as well. Lori, it's always fun having you on the show. So we're going to start top to bottom this time. And this week you were assigned the forwards. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off? Who you got in the front lines?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm going with Midge Purse, given her goal. Hit the post as well. Unfortunate for her, but I think just coming into her own at the exact right time. And as we mentioned in the previous segment, just adds a different look to this Gotham team that is very much needed, and it's taken some of that responsibility off of Astaire up top. And I can see her just continuing to grow into the season. Also, Gift Monday, how could you not? NWSL, fastest hat trick in the NWSL history, just exceptional. I loved every single one of those goals. I just thought were just brilliant. And then my third one, Ovalle. Getting the first goal. We talked about it in the preview. Somebody's got to step up. We mentioned, Ali Watt, we mentioned Angelina. Ovalle is already connected with Watt previously, but you know what? She's settling in, and to do it without Bandit, to do it without Marta in this game. Listen, she's like here for it. So can't go any further. Those three are my forwards for best 11.
I love it. I think, we can always try to like pluck and pick and pull, but I like this front three. I think it goes the unremovable, right? Is Gift Monday, but I also like the shout for Ovalle because there has been that energy where it's like, who's it going to be for Orlando? But there's that grace that we're giving where we're like, well, surely it can't be Ovalle right now. And she's like, yes, it can. And so I love it. You got her in there. I'm good with this, Cupo. If you want to vouch for somebody, you can go right into your midfielders if you like.
I think. No, I like it. I think the problem, look at me. The problem is you're all too good this week. Now,
oh yeah, because you could put Solorzano in there, you could put Weber in there.
Right.
Yep.
So, and I do want to put a little asterisk by Solorzano for being the first Guatemalan, and it is still Hispanic History Month. So shouts to her to ever score a goal in NWSL.
Yeah, let me put the asterisks next to that too, because I weighed over this for a while in terms of okay, which way am I going to go? And Weber's goal was so important as well. But the reason why I went for Ovalle is because the short amount of time that she's been in this league, the importance of, they haven't won since before the international break. So I went off of, and that's how I end up weighing it in favor of Ovalle, just what one of these goals in that 2-1 victory just meant for the shift for Orlando. So that's what tipped it over.
Absolutely. Yeah. I won't arm wrestle you over this top line. This is a very good top line. And Orlando very much have an over-reliance on Banda for goal productivity. So having another option in who else but La Maga, oh darn, champagne problem. Come on in, score your first goal. We've already seen her assist. Heck yeah. I did check in on the chat, which I love you guys. I cannot respond to you. So I just want to give a quick shout to Gary's son, T-Money. And I see you all in there. And I see that you predicted that we would likely throw Rose Lavelle in this midfield. And yes, I am. I am. And what of it? You can't even come for me. 1 goal, 1 assist. Big win over Portland. Decisive. It showed her performance all in showed that we might be getting the best Rose right now. And you can't argue with me on that. That's just non-negotiable. So ride with me here. Then I have Croy Bethune. She assisted Gift Monday's hat trick. He was a really beautiful creative spark, incisive passing, great movement. And then I was like, well, surely there are a few other midfielders, which is my biggest problem when you give me the midfield, because I'm like, no, midfielders, I love them. Lulabonta scored her 14th career PK, which ties the record with Rapinoe. That's massive. Okay. And this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. She's the engine of Kansas City's midfield. Like, she is that line of connection between that top three, which are already terrifying. And then you have Lowe in there who will just occasionally rip a shot that will knock somebody's head off their shoulders from range, and just go at herself. So those are my three.
I love that, Cupo, because I was actually going to put Lowe as the honorary captain if we didn't have her in the mix. So
Love it.
there we go.
I love that Rosabella's there. I think she's got a case for me for September Player of the Month, let alone on Attacking Thirds Team of the Week. It's tough because like you said, Kupo, all the midfielders are very good in this league, and right around this time of the calendar is when they show why. So this is always going to be a tough assignment for anyone, I think, during this point of the schedule. So I love that you got Lowe in there too. I think it's a great shot. What an incredible stat. What an incredible stat to reach, a great and another great. Rapinoe and Lola Bonta, like, no big deal, right? Just casual names. I had the responsibility for the back line. So that was also equally difficult because not only do we have to choose 4 defenders, but we also have to go with a goalkeeper. So for my defenders, I'm going to kick it off with actually representation for Utah Royals because we didn't get a chance too much to get into the game, but they also got a big 3 points this weekend. And a huge reason why is because Jenny Thompson producing constantly for this team. So I've got her on my back line. I've also got Janine Sonis for racing Louisville on here as well. I could not leave a Gotham player off of this one. Emily Sonnet has had another incredible season. I think she had a really good game. When we saw how Gotham kept biting away at Portland, they're doing it because they have someone like Emily Sonnet who could just be like, it's cool. I'll just chill here and take care of it.
Track you down.
Just go, Mandy Freeman. Just go off for Nina. Like, I'm here. I got it. So Sonnet's on my back line. And maybe this is a bit of recency bias, but I'm going with Phoebe McClernand for Seattle Reign on the back line here. And shouts to Huitema, who joined us in her interview with talking about all of the adjustments and shapes that they take on. And a consistent presence has typically been Phoebe McClernand. So I've got that for my back 4. Goalkeeper was very, very hard. It was on 2 teams for me, but again, I'm giving more love to the Royals. It was a huge win.
Hey!
The saves that Mia Justice made. It's tough to pick against Jordan Bloomer right now because she's been incredible, but Mia Justice was incredible for the Royals as well. And the fact that Bloomer for me at the end of the day only faced the 2 shots for Angel City, and Justice came away with having to face 7 on goal and walked away.
Yeah. And second career start, clean sheet. I mean, come on, that's a lot of pressure knowing where you're at. I know, obviously Utah are oh, womp womp, but it extended their unbeaten run to 7, and that showed a whole lot of composure for someone who isn't usually in that position.
Yeah, I think doors open, I think, here for head coach this week. There were a lot of big wins here, and I think we can honestly put any coach here from Seb Hines to honestly like Bev Yanez, but I think I might tip the cap to Seb Hines in this one. That's a long streak to go through to finally get that win. I don't know if anyone else feels strongly otherwise.
The only one I was going to throw in was Adrian Gonzalez. And Seb was on the top of the list there too. So I'm happy to go either direction. But given that they just clinched playoffs, they have undefeated this second part of the season. They've tidied things up defensively, and then obviously they have the luxury of rotating whatever's happening on that front line, and they're producing.
Yeah, no, I'm swayed.
Shockingly enough, I went Bev. Bev because while right now Racing Louisville are in the playoffs conversation and it's hard fought, we know that they've had what I've now referred to as this 9th place curse where they consistently finish in that spot. They actually historically have hit club bests with this last win. So this is the most points they've accumulated at this point in the season. So it's a new record. It's the most wins at 8 than they've had in a season. So I feel like all of the other metrics are there, pointing in favor of this could be the season in which they do it, but managing to pull this one off and essentially besting herself, coaching season over season.
that there's three.
Yeah.
There's three different. I'm like Seb Hines, Bev Yanez, and Lori Lindsey. I would love to run a poll, but we don't have the power. We can't even participate in the chat.
Yeah, we don't have the
for some reason.
maybe
Maybe we can
quickly and apologize to the chat. Hang on. Chat, I can't type to you, but
just throw out the name. Just throw out the name and you pick Cupo because you're the one that can see that. While they're doing that, Cupo, let's go to honorary captain. We were chatting a little bit during our break, and we thought we could maybe have some fun with this in Team of the Week. The honorary captain this week will be maybe the Chicago Stars roster because their season for the playoff push came to an end out of week 22. Laura, you were on that game. This team looked like a completely different team in the second half of the season. What have you seen from them in this second half of the season, and what are we looking for them for the rest of the season into next year?
Yeah, well, first of all, shout out to every single player on that team. Ella Masser, new coaches, but every single player that has been on this team, I think deserves loads of credit, just given the ups and downs, the emotional year. I talked to Alyssa Nair, probably hasn't been quite a month ago, and she was just saying, yes, what an incredibly challenging season, especially at the beginning before the international break. And listen, it's emotional, like, right, as a professional athlete, you have to try to stay level, but given everything that was thrown at them, this is we can't read it, Cupo.
No, it's just my poll.
Oh.
Seb, Bev, Adrian, chat, do your thing. Just write their names and I will mentally tabulate.
She'll tally
Go.
it.
Proceed.
Okay, perfect.
Here.
But just to finish that point, I think it totally makes sense that this team would have thrown in the towel, not been able to regroup. But you know what? They freaking did. And this team, in a lot of ways, has played some really quality soccer the second part. From the partnership of Sam Staub and Henrik on the back line. Henrik was a huge pickup just to help solidify things, bring more experience on the back line. To you're talking about Joseph coming back, Ludmila still in the Golden Boot race, regardless of where they finish. And yeah, I mean, all Schlegel, everybody, Grosso, these players that are just continuing to fight. I have massive respect for that team to shift the trajectory that they had is just incredible in the midst of a season. So kudos to them. That's our honorary captain.
Yeah, you like it. I love it. In the midst of their elimination from contention, what a way to kind of close out this season. There's nothing better than hope, right? It's the hope that kills you, and that's what they're giving. I think each other and their supporters, and really it was absolutely the best way to represent the league. Of course, the last place team broke the shutout streak of the Shield winning team. Yeah. And they got the one goal that did it, even though it was a 4-1 loss. Yep. So congratulations, closing out your season with a bang. We'll see what these last keep with you. Cupo, who's our coach of the week?
Okay, it looks like the majority of the chat are shouting Bev or Seb, but it looks like Bev edges out just by a couple of votes. It's very close. But I also want to give the chat credit because they were shouting honorary captain Bryce Scurry for doing the KC baby. Oh, so we just have to mention, I want to acknowledge that they were shouting that from the rooftops out here, but we have a pretty impressive match of the week.
Good stuff coming up. And we're going to be with you through it all because, of course, second, third is your spot for all things women's soccer. In fact, we're going to be back tomorrow, September 29th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube with Lola Bonta, Darian Jenkins, and McCall Zerboni. Appreciate you all for joining us tonight. Thanks for being here.